This video is not to be used as a substitute for the operator's manual. The operator's manual must be thoroughly read and understood by all persons who will operate this freezer. The H.C. Duke & Son Company has been a leader in the design and manufacturing of soft-serve ice cream machines since 1946. Their modern manufacturing facility uses the latest computerized technology and trained craftsmen to manufacture the Electro Freeze line to exacting standards. First, make sure you read and understand all safety messages in the operator's manual and on the freezer decals before attempting to operate the freezer. Today, I'll be taking you through the operator controls, assembly, startup, closing, disassembly, and cleaning procedures for the Electro Freeze model numbers 30T CMT, 30 CMT, 88T CMT, 15 CMT, and 44 CMT. The MTS, or Mix Transfer System assembly, is identical for all of these freezers. The beater shaft, blade, and head assembly, however, do change with each CMT model. You will see these differences as we proceed through the steps. We will start by identifying the operator controls, or switches, on the control panel of your Electro Freeze freezer. Starting on the left-hand side of Model 30T CMT, the first control is the timer. This is a quick freeze control that will bypass the thermostat, forcing the compressor and beater motor to run up to 3 minutes. The timer can be used for quick startups or fast recovery when large portions are dispensed. Caution: use the timer switch only when necessary. Excessive use will cause freeze-up that will damage your freezer. The Reset Overload button protects the beater motor against failure from an overload condition by automatically shutting down the freezer. If the overload has tripped, turn the selector switch to off. Wait 2 to 3 minutes, then press the red Reset Overload button. If the overload trips frequently, your freezer should be checked for proper product temperature, overrun, and voltage by your Electro Freeze distributor. The selector switch controls the functions of your freezer. The center position is off. Switch to the left and it is in the clean position. Use this position in all cleaning and sanitizing operations. To the right is the auto position that activates both the beater motor and refrigeration unit. The auto position is the normal operating position. The day-night switch controls the day and night refrigeration modes. Toggle the switch to the left for the day position. This is the normal operating position that maintains product serving temperatures of 17 to 19 degrees Fahrenheit. For the night position, toggle the switch to the right and maintain a mix holding temperature of 38 degrees Fahrenheit or colder. The Mix Transfer System switch controls the operation of the Mix Transfer System located in the mix storage cabinet. The center position is off. The prime position is to the right and is only used for initial filling of the cylinder with mix or sanitizer. The on position, to the left, is used when the freezer is in the normal operating mode or when product is being dispensed from the freezer. The cabinet switch controls the cabinet refrigeration. The on position is to the left and allows the cabinet to refrigerate if mix is in the cabinet but not in the cylinder. Toggle to the right for the off position. When this switch is set to off, the cabinet will not be refrigerated should the selector switch be in the off position. Please note that at any time either selector switch is in the auto position, the cabinet will automatically be refrigerated. See the operating decal for proper switch positions for day or night operation. Add mix indicator lights are on the front of your freezer below the control panel. These red lights will flash when your cabinet mix levels are low and you need to add mix. Note, Each of the CMT models have the same switches, although the locations change depending on which side of the freezer you are working on. We'll start with the three main components of the 30T CMT. The three main components are the beater shaft assembly, the head assembly, and the mix transfer system. We'll begin with the beater shaft assembly, which includes the beater shaft, the shaft seal, and 3 blades for each cylinder. Warning: safety first. Make sure all switches are in the off position and the main power source is disconnected. The freezer may have more than one disconnect switch, so know your equipment and make sure all switches are off. Failure to do this may cause severe personal injury. Start assembling the shaft seal by installing the cup seal and O-ring on the bushing. Apply a moderate amount of an approved sanitary lubricant, such as petrol gel, to the O-ring in the face of the plastic bushing opposite the bell portion of the seal. Do not allow any lubricant to come into contact with the bell-shaped rubber portion of the seal. The shaft seal assembly is common to all CMT freezers. Install the shaft seal over the rear of the beater shaft with the bell-shaped portion facing the rear. Remove excess lubricant on the driver end of the beater shaft. Place the scraper blades on the beater shaft, making sure the flat side is out. Insert the assembled beater shaft into the cylinder by placing the rear blade on the bottom of the cylinder. This will center the beater and allow alignment with the drive coupling. Rotate the beater assembly while pushing until the shank has engaged the coupling. Repeat this procedure for the other beater shaft assembly. The 88T CMT, 30 CMT, 15 CMT, and 44 CMT beater shaft assembly and installation are the same as the 30T CMT, except there are only 2 blades to assemble on the beater shaft. Models 30 CMT, 15 CMT, and 44 CMT require cylinder bushing installation and lubrication after beater assembly installation. Lubricate the inside of the cylinder bushing and install on the front of the beater shaft. Place the opening in the bushing on the bottom. Then place your finger in the slot, lift up on the beater shaft, and center it with the bushing. Now push the bushing in. Next, we'll assemble the 30T CMT or 88T CMT dispensing head. This assembly consists of the head, 2 outside plungers, 1 center plunger, 2 outside handles, 1 center handle, 1 pin, 3 serrated nozzles, 4 hand knobs to hold it in place, 3 plunger rods, 2 air relief plugs, and 2 cylinder bushings. Find the O-ring chart provided with the unit. Lay all the O-rings on the chart, matching them to the appropriate example shown on the chart. If O-rings are stretched, chipped, or cut, replace them. Install 2 O-rings each on the outside plungers. Install the bottom O-ring first. Then slide the top O-ring over the bottom O-ring and into its groove. Lubricate the O-rings and insert the plunger halfway into the head. Repeat for the other outside plunger. Install the center plunger O-rings. Next, install the bottom O-ring first, then the 2 side plunger O-rings. Now slide the top O-ring over the other O-rings and into its groove. Lubricate the O-rings and insert plunger halfway into the center plunger port. Now you are ready to install the handles. Note that the center handle is longer than the 2 outside handles. Starting with one of the 2 short handles positioned in the side plunger, slide the handle pin through the side pivot point. Position the longest handle into the center plunger and continue to slide the pin handle through the center handle pivot point. Position the last outside handle in the outside plunger. Push the handle pin through the openings until it locks into place, securing the handles to the head assembly. Install the 4-inch O-rings into the 2 large head grooves and lubricate. Install the air relief plug O-rings, starting with the bottom O-ring. Lubricate the O-rings and then insert the air relief plugs into the head assembly. Lubricate the inside bearing surface of the head bushings. Place the bushing in the head assembly and rotate until the bushing locks into place. Caution: make sure the head bushing is positioned in the head properly. Operating the freezer with a missing, badly worn, or improperly positioned bushing will damage the beater and the cylinder. Install the dispensing head onto the freezer by aligning the studs with the head and sliding toward the freezer. Install and tighten the hand knobs evenly and finger tight only. Caution: do not use excessive force to tighten the hand knobs. Doing so will damage the head. Also, never use tools to tighten the hand knobs. If you are assembling the head on models 15 CMT, 44 CMT, or 30 CMT, lay all the O-rings on the O-ring chart provided with the unit. Match O-rings to the appropriate examples shown on the chart. If O-rings are stretched, chipped, or cut, replace them. Install the 3 O-rings on the plunger by first installing the bottom O-ring, then the center O-ring, and the top O-ring last. Lubricate the O-rings and insert the plunger halfway into the plunger port. Install the 4-inch O-ring on the head and lubricate. Install the air relief plug O-rings, starting with the bottom O-ring, and lubricate. Insert the air relief plug into the head. Position the handle in the head assembly and lock in place with the handle pin. Install the dispensing head assembly onto the freezer by aligning the studs with the head and sliding toward the freezer. Install and tighten the hand knobs evenly and finger tight only. Insert plunger rods first by installing them up into the hole provided, and then swing the bottom ring into the plunger groove. Pull each handle and check operation of the plunger and rod. Do not install the nozzles now. The nozzles will be installed on the mix outlets at the bottom of the head after the sanitizing procedure. Now let's assemble the MTS hose assembly. If you will be pumping from the 6-gallon mix containers provided, the MTS hose assembly will consist of the following components: pickup tube assembly, transfer hose, a braided hose with a barbed fitting, an air hose, air meter, a duckbill check valve, the mix container lid seal, and 3 clamps. Assemble the MTS hose assembly by sliding the transfer hose over the pickup tube until it meets the air inlet port. On the transfer hose, you will see a locating line. Rotate the hose so that the locating line is to the left of the air inlet port, and then clamp the hose with the thumb screw tab facing straight out toward you. Slide a clamp onto the end of the transfer hose. Now connect the transfer hose to the braided hose assembly at the barbed fitting and secure clamp with the thumb screw tab facing straight out. Caution: remember these important points to ensure the maximum benefit from your equipment. Always inspect the hose during assembly for signs of wear. Never use tools or sharp objects to remove the hose. It is very important that you use our original Electro Freeze hose. It has been specially constructed to operate with the mix transfer system, and your freezer will not operate with any other type of hose. Handle this hose with care when assembling or installing. Never twist the hose. Also, remember to replace the transfer hose every 30 days. Slide the air hose over the air inlet port and insert the air meter. Now install the mix container lid seal, flat side first, over the mix pickup tube. Insert the duckbill valve into the bottom of the pickup tube. Push until the 2 ribs are completely inserted. Make sure the locating line is straight and all clamps have the thumb screw tab facing straight up. You are ready to install the mix transfer system hose assembly. First, lay the transfer hose in the hose roller cavity. On double freezers, always install the left hose assembly first. Place the pickup tube end in the inlet hose guide. Pull the braided hose end of the transfer hose through the outlet hose guide. Remember, be careful not to twist the hose while installing. Make sure the pickup tube is completely outside of the inlet hose guide. Check to ensure the transfer hose is straight and centered on the roller assembly by observing the locating line on the hose. The line should be in the same position at both the inlet and outlet guides. Push the handle upward and lock in place with the swing lock. Important: the mix transfer system will not operate unless the handle is in the closed and locked position. Slide the braided hose over the mix inlet tube and tighten the clamp. Again, make sure that the hose is not twisted. Insert the air tube into the support at the top of the cabinet. The first step in the startup procedure involves the sanitizing of your Electro Freeze freezer. But before we proceed, listen to these important safety reminders. The washing and sanitizing instructions explained in this video are very important procedures developed to protect your equipment and your customers. These step-by-step instructions provide you with an easy and effective way to remove bacteria and maintain a clean, sanitary freezer. The soft-serve freezer must be disassembled and washed according to the instructions in the manual before sanitizing to ensure the best possible cleanliness. Warning: unapproved sanitizer or laundry bleach should never be used to clean or sanitize your freezer. These solutions may contain strong concentrations of chlorine that will pose a health hazard to your customers. High concentrations of chlorine will also launch a chemical attack on freezer components, causing damage to your freezer. Important: the following sanitizing step is always done just prior to starting the freezer. Never let the sanitizer remain in the freezer for extended periods. This will cause damage to the freezer and component parts. Prepare 2 gallons of sanitizing solution for each cylinder. Sanitizing solution must be mixed according to the manufacturer's instructions to yield 100 parts per million ppm strength chlorine solution. If using the mix container, clean the interior mix container walls, the underside of the container covers, and the mix probes with sanitizer and the appropriate brush provided. Place a container filled with sanitizer into the refrigerated cabinet. Insert the pickup tubes into the sanitizer solution and clean the outside portion. If plastic mix bag systems are used, be sure all adapters and items that will come in contact with mix are sanitized. Place an empty container under the dispensing head. Open the air relief plugs by pulling up until they hit the bottom of the switch box. Turn the mix transfer system switch to prime. This will push the sanitizer up into the cylinders. When sanitizer appears, close the plugs. Caution: do not use the auto position with sanitizer in the cylinder. The freezer will be damaged. Turn both selector switches to clean and allow the beaters to run for 5 minutes. At this time, check for leaks around the head, drain tube, clamps, and the mix transfer system. The mix transfer system produces 22 to 26 pounds per square inch pressure during normal operation. If the hose connections are not secure, they may come apart when the system is pressurized. Drain the solution from the cylinders by slowly pulling down on the dispense handles. Leaving the handles down, turn the selector switch to off and let the mix transfer system force all possible sanitizer out of the freezing cylinders. Some sanitizer will remain in the hoses and cylinder. The freezer should be installed with a 1/4 inch slope to the front to help sanitizer drain. Turn the mix transfer system switch to off. Remove the pickup tubes, holding the top 6-inch portion only. Remove the mix container and empty any remaining sanitizer. Holding the top 6-inch portion only, insert the pickup tubes into the sanitized mix containers through the small holes in the rear covers and set containers in the cabinet. After sanitizing, we are ready for the priming procedure. Fill the mix containers with mix and install front covers. Insert mix probe through the large hole in the rear cover and connect retractable cords to probe and top of cabinet. Turn cabinet switch to on and close cabinet door. Place an empty container under the dispensing head on the drip tray. Open the plungers and air relief plugs. Turn the MTS switch to prime and allow the mix to push the remaining sanitizer from the freezer. Close the plungers, one at a time, when pure mix is coming out. Caution: failure to completely remove sanitizer or water from the freezing cylinders before placing the selector switch in the auto position will cause damage to the freezer. After 50 to 55 seconds on models 15 CMT, 30 TCMT, and 30 CMT, or 35 to 40 seconds on models 44 CMT and 88 CMT, close the air relief plugs and wait for the MTS to fill the cylinders and shut off. After the cylinders are pressurized and the MTS has cycled off, approximately 30 seconds, turn the MTS switches to on, the day-night switches to day, and the selector switches to auto. Allow the freezer to cycle for 15 to 20 minutes. Sanitize the nozzles and install them on the head. The product is now ready to serve. When you are ready to close for the day, the following procedure should be followed. In areas where state and local health codes will allow, the freezer may be switched to night operation that will allow the freezer to cycle and maintain approximately 38 degrees Fahrenheit or lower product temperature in the cylinder and cabinet. The night mode operation also reduces the amount of agitation to preserve the product quality. To switch the freezer to night mode, leave the selector switches in auto and turn the cabinet switch to the on position. Turn the mix transfer system switch to the off position. Turn the day-night switches to night and let the machine cycle. Remove a small amount of product to depressurize freezer. Remove and clean serrated nozzles and the drip tray assembly. Clean soiled surfaces with soap and water. To start the freezer after using the night mode, turn the day-night switches to day and the mix transfer system switches to on. Before replacing the sanitized nozzles, use a small brush and sanitizer to clean the bottom of the plunger openings. We recommend that you clean the freezer in the morning before business resumes. The product in the cylinder will be semi-frozen from being in the night operation mode and can be cleaned faster with less waste. However, if the machine is to be cleaned at the end of the day, place the selector switch in the clean position and the mix transfer system switch in the prime position. Let the beaters run for 5 minutes. This will allow the product in the cylinder to soften up. Remove the nozzles. Disconnect the mix probe cords. Remove the stainless steel pickup tubes from the mix. Remove the mix containers from the cabinet and place the pickup tubes in a clean sanitary bucket. Place a clean, sanitized container under the dispensing nozzles. Very slowly, Draw off the semi-frozen product until it stops dispensing. Close the plungers and pour cold water into the bucket containing the pickup tubes. Allow the mix transfer system to fill with water and pressurize the cylinder. Very slowly draw off the cold water. Follow with warm water until the freezer is rinsed clean. Very slowly draw off all warm water and follow with 2 gallons of sanitizing solution for each cylinder. The sanitizing solution must be mixed according to the manufacturer's instructions to yield 100 parts per million available chlorine solution. Allow the sanitizing solution to remain in the cylinder for 5 minutes. Remove pickup tubes from the water. Open the plungers and allow the mix transfer system to push the water out of the cylinders. Leaving the plungers open, turn the selector switches to off to force all remaining water from the cylinders. When the water stops, turn the MTS switch to off. Warning: check to make sure that the selector switch is in the off position and the main power supply is disconnected. Failure to do so may result in severe personal injury. Remove the plunger rods by lifting them up and swinging the bottom out and down. Depressurize the freezer by pulling down on all dispense handles simultaneously. Caution: make sure that the mix transfer switches are in the off position and the freezer is depressurized before proceeding. Failure to do so may result in the mix spraying out over the entire area. Place a bucket under the head to catch any remaining water and remove the hand knobs. Remove the head by pulling it straight out. Remove cylinder bushings, beater shafts, blades, and rear shaft seals. Take all parts to a 3-compartment sink area, wash in warm, mild detergent solution, and then rinse and sanitize. Make sure to remove all O-rings, bushings, and rubber cups. Wash them thoroughly using the brushes provided in a warm, mild detergent solution. Rinse and sanitize. Remove the transfer hose, braided hose, and clamps from the mix transfer system. Take hoses to the sink area and clean the hoses inside and out. Use the brushes provided to thoroughly clean the inside surface of the hoses. Rinse and sanitize the hoses. Remove the drip tray and insert and take them to the sink area. Wash the drip tray and insert.